I'm Tanza. Welcome to my channel, my page, however you're tuning in. I created this space mostly for caregivers and current, will be in the future, have been in the past, and so that we can all discuss some important topics and learn from one another and support one another. Today, I'm going to talk about how do you know when driving is no longer safe, and how do you have that difficult conversation? I find that one of the hardest moments is not about medication management or making and getting to appointments, but it is about the keys to freedom. When you are trying to share with your loved one that driving is no longer safe, it is one of the most difficult, frustrating, and sometimes humorous challenges. I've been taking care of both my parents over the last several years, and they each had a different presentation. Although the destination is the same, getting from driving to not driving, that path to get there was very, very different between the two of my parents. But I did know that some of the things I was looking for, didn't realize I'd be looking for, but my mom's was a little more obvious with macular degeneration. So visually, she was unable to drive. The doctor really helped us with that decision. And but some of the things that we saw, and I also have seen with my dad, is that they would get a little lost in familiar settings. My dad, who used to tell me about every road built between here in Jacksonville and here in Gainesville and here in Palatka, he could tell me the history. I always joked with him that he could have worked for GPS and made millions. But now, just driving to Gainesville, he doesn't recognize where we are. He thinks he's never been there before. So he would definitely very easily get lost. Confusing, they might confuse the gas pedal for the brake pedal. And of course, that could be very dangerous. Maybe driving too fast or too slow. I know with my mom, she drove a little fast at times. And I remember one time, one of the last times that any of us ever drove with her, my son was in the car and I was following them. And he got out of that car and he said, I will never drive with her again. Not only was she a little fast, but she was also swerving. I was very nervous in the car behind them watching them. So his reaction getting out of the car did not surprise me at all. But that was a clear sign that it was dangerous for her to drive. Delayed responses at traffic lights. I unfortunately, we see that a lot now with everybody, because a lot of times people will pick up their phones and look at their phones, and so you're waiting at the light when the light turns green, and here we're still waiting. But for the elderly population, it's more about their processing and their ability to go, oh, the light just turned green, or the yellow light is going to be turning red soon, and so I better stop. So that is a clear indication. Trouble staying in their lanes. I talked about that with my mom. If you recognize that they are swerving, if you have that gut feeling that this just isn't safe, or you get a little nervous when you hear, oh, I'm just going to run up to the corner store for a minute, I'll be right back. If you're feeling that, then you know it's time that we're looking towards not driving much longer. They may get more nervous when they're driving. They may be getting stopped by police. Maybe not more frequently, but for the first, second time. Forgetting where they're parked. I know for a lot of people that's easy. Depending on the size of the parking lot, they may forget where they park. But those are some of the kind of warning signs that you're getting closer to having that difficult conversation. So I would suggest introducing the conversation sooner than later, because that will give you the opportunity to slowly, calmly, better explain why we're moving in that direction. Because you know that when those keys are given up, whether they're removed or they voluntarily give them up to you, that they're losing a sense of independence, their freedom, identity, spontaneity, and the big one, control. They have lost the control to do what they want, when they want, and where they want. So it is very, very difficult. My mom understood she couldn't drive. However, with her dementia on top of the macular degeneration, she couldn't understand that other people would be driving her car to take her places. She didn't understand when her car wasn't in the driveway. It was very much a possession thing for her. You know, she understood that she couldn't maybe drive it. However, it needed to be at the house all the time. It was her car. My dad, on the other hand, when the doctor and I explained his reaction time, the dangers he could be putting other people into, he finally came around with the driving part. Reluctantly, but came around. We eventually moved his car to a friend's house so that he did not see it sitting in the driveway all the time. And he was okay with that. He has a truck and he's like, okay, my friend can use the truck, no problem. But if I need it, it's right around the corner. So he was more accepting when it came to the actual driving part. But he had also, in the past, had to give up flying. He had to give up his motorcycle riding. When he was 85 or 86, he finally stopped riding his motorcycle. So, you know, he understood about having to give things up when it got dangerous for himself and for other people. So I'm grateful for that. The last challenge I'm facing with him is the riding mower. My dad has always taken great care of his yard, immaculate care. All the neighbors know it, and the yard waste workers, they know it because they're picking up garbage cans full of leaves every week. So getting that lawnmower key away from him has been my biggest struggle, believe it or not. I've gotten it away from him, and then he wears me down. He wears me down. You mean you're going to take the lawnmower away from me now? You know, that's all I have. All I have is the yard. And so it's not untrue. That's the one thing he still does, is work out in the yard. He no longer has his dog. We had to put the dog to sleep. He no longer visits his wife every day because she passed away. He cannot ride his motorcycle. He cannot drive his car. So he has lost a lot of freedom. So that last key, that last key has been a big struggle for my dad and I. Right now I've got him to agree not to get on that lawnmower unless I am sitting here watching him, so that I can react immediately if he were to get stuck or run over something. So anyway, I would encourage you to have that conversation sooner than later, so that they can have time to process. You will have time to show them examples of why you think it's dangerous or unsafe. Remember, never, please, never argue about it. Don't embarrass them. Okay, don't embarrass them, because they become. It's typical to become very defensive. Do not bring it up in a very tense moment, or in a tense moment. You want, when you talk about that process and talk about eventually taking the keys away, you want to make sure that you're in a calm setting, your body language is open, your voice is calm, and trying to rationalize. Sometimes it's difficult to be rational with someone who is not rational, but do your best, and you just have to do it a little bit by little bit, unless of course there is a major incident and emergency, and then that's when you have to, you know, remove the keys, and that is the end decision. The one thing you really want to do is protect your relationship as the caregiver with your loved one, and sometimes that just takes a lot of finesse, a lot of love and patience. So there are alternatives to them driving. You may have family that can work out a schedule if they still go grocery shopping, or they go to an activities program, go to their friend's house, go out to lunch, things like that. Friends may be able to come and pick them up to do outings. So they also have some public transportations where you may live, and some programs such as the Community for the Elderly. They may have transportation available in your area. We have the VA available. I have not used them. However, we do have them available for appointments and things like that. If it comes down to they just absolutely refuse to give up those keys, then unfortunately you're gonna have to resort to hiding them, disabling the car. We've disabled my dad's truck before. I've disabled the lawnmower before, and because my dad has been a mechanic, he was able to kind of figure these things out. So that didn't go as smoothly as we had hoped. Maybe parking the car elsewhere, but then, you know, depending on, you know, if their cognitive level, they may be like out of sight, out of mind, or they may recognize that it's not there and be asking you where it is. So each solution is a little different. Another great idea is bringing in a medical professional, because sometimes just that input from the medical professional will make all the difference in the world. They don't listen to you, who loves and cares for them, but they will listen to a medical professional because of that authority figure. So if you can get the physician or nurse practitioner to explain the cognitive changes, explain why getting out there behind the wheel is dangerous, and some of them will even state that they'll notify the DMV that they can no longer drive. So some states they actually go through with that process. Other states they do not. However, some physicians and medical assistants are willing to take that extra step with you to support the decision of not driving. So if you're facing this challenge, trust me, you are not alone. Like I said in the beginning, it's one of the most frustrating, it's exhausting, and at sometimes it can even be funny, but it is a tough position to be in when you're taking away that level of freedom for someone. If you heard anything that you think might help you, or you can recall going through this before with one of your family members or someone that you love that you were caring for, and want to share with us what worked for you, please do, because we most certainly could all benefit from this very difficult conversation and transition. I think that's a good way of putting it, is transition. So thank you for being here. Thanks for listening. Do engage. Please share my page, my channel, and I'd like to see more and more people join us and give us useful information. Bye for now.